Once upon a time, Digitech decided that they were going to make their own versions of some very famous Boss pedals. But they decided also that they were going to try and make them better. Did they succeed? Let's find out.
Just play the damn thing.
Welcome to you one and all. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, it would be a big help if you did so, because number one, it takes you all of about 0.2 seconds to do so. It doesn't cost you a dime, and it goes a long way towards helping me and this channel out, and I would greatly appreciate it. And frankly, if you haven't subscribed by now, you probably should have a long time ago, and I don't know why you why wouldn't you? I mean, it's me. Now, as I was saying, once upon a time, back in 2006, I believe it was, that Digitech decided to put out this here line of pedals that were basically clones of very famous, very well-known Boss pedals by this point. And what they did was they basically took the circuits that these pedals are cloning. So they took that circuit, they added a more flexible gain or EQ structure to them. Rather than a single tone knob, they added a 2-band EQ. So again, much more added flexibility as far as tone shaping goes, and more so, you might be able to see. Hopefully, you can see right there where it has two different outputs labeled, and has two different outputs. These pedals all come with all feature emulated outputs on them, where it says mixer out, but it's an emulated output. Emulated outputs were basically for all intents and purposes, the precursor of impulse responses. So, and you can see that they are, the traditional Boss stomp box pedal designs. They've got the full size pedal switch, the steel housing. This thing's built like a tank, and the recessed knobs so that when you stomp on it, your foot doesn't interfere or mess with your settings at all. That's what that design there is for. And they sound really good. Now, the one that I most recently acquired was this guy. This is the Hothead Distortion, and if you aren't, if the color of the pedal isn't a dead giveaway, what it's supposed to be a copy of, it's the DS1. The good old-fashioned Boss DS1. The original Boss Distortion stomp box that has been around since I think this pedal came out in 1978. So let's see how the Digitech version compares to the old Boss version. See what you think. The next one on the list is what they call the Screamin' Blues Overdrive. And this one ought to sound familiar and maybe even look familiar with the blue color of the pedal. That's because it is a clone of the Boss BD2 Blues Driver. This pedal came out in 1995, I believe. If you follow my channel at all, you're probably aware that I'm a die-hard fan of the Boss Blues Driver. This is one of my all-time favorite overdrives. I love this pedal. There's several different versions of it out on the market now. There's this version. They've got the Wazacraft. They've got the JV2 Angry Driver, which is essentially a take on a blues driver. And of course, there's been tons of mods done to them over the years, and tons of clones, and they're all. And I own a lot of those as well. I love the blues driver. Big fan. Very versatile. Sounds great. I don't think I've ever found a rig that it doesn't sound good in. Which intrigued me when I first had the opportunity to pick this guy up because, again, blues driver, but more EQ flexibility and the added emulated output. Let's see how they sound. And last but not least is the now infamous Bad Monkey Overdrive. You might be familiar with this because last year Josh Scott of the JHS Pedal Show put out a video on this pedal that went absolutely viral. The entire world went gaga as soon as this thing came out. And everybody, for some reason, all these dumbass guitar players that had one of these things sitting in their closet decided that they suddenly hit the jackpot because they thought that all of a sudden the value of these things was going to skyrocket. There's still a few of these things listed on Reverb for like $200 and $300 and $400 last I checked, which is absolutely insane. I bought this one a few years ago before that happened. I think I paid 25 bucks. They were going up a little bit from them just because of inflation. After that video went out and after everything settled down, you can now pick these up for about 100, 125-ish, about 125 bucks. Now, you might be asking yourself, Robert, I thought these were clones of Boss pedals. That's a green pedal, which seems to indicate that that's more of a Tube Screamer type, and it is. It absolutely is. However, if you're not familiar with the history of the Tube Screamer actually started out as the original Boss OD1 pedal, and Ibanez essentially ganked that design. They added a tone control to it, and Boss was forced to take their original design, add a tone control to it of their own just so they could remain competitive, and thus the Boss SD1 was created. This is the anniversary version, the 40th anniversary version. The circuit the guts are exactly the same that they've been putting in this pedal for years. It's just the housing is a little bit different. I just like this pedal. Well, Robert, how come you're not demoing with a TS9? Well, believe it or not, I actually do not own a TS9 because, frankly, I don't need it. I own this here TS7 Tube Screamer, which happens to have a TS9 mode on it, which is really, really close. And I also happen to own a TS9 DX, which is a model called the Turbo Tube Screamer that also has a TS9 mode on it. So I have Ibanez TS9s built into the pedals. So for today's purpose of comparing it to the now infamous Bad Monkey Overdrive, we're going to put it up against these two pedals just to hear how she sounds. So now that you've heard these Digitech pedals side by side with all of the pedals that originally inspired them, let's talk a little bit more about the other feature that I mentioned. I've mentioned a couple times, which is the emulated output. They have it labeled on all these pedals as the mixer out. You know, and for all intents and purposes, that's what it's designed to do. If you're playing silently, you know, either without an amplifier, you know, and you need to go straight to the mixer, straight to the soundboard, or straight to your recording interface in your studio, that's what this is designed to be. So essentially, it has an IR built into it. If you've ever heard what an amp or a pedal sounds like without a speaker cab or an impulse response or anything like that, you know, it sounds like a can of bees. So the impulse response adds that much needed EQ curve at the end of it. This has a pre-built in. So with all the riffs that I just used to demo these three pedals prior, you may have noticed that I had two cables running out of this thing. That's because I demoed a track on both with my impulse response and one with just the emulated output. So let's hear the difference. There were other pedals that came out in this line, but these were the ones that were, you know, kind of specifically designed to sound like specific Boss pedals, you know, or Ibanez Tube Screamer, whatever, you know, whatever you want to call it. But primarily Boss pedal clones. These are my favorites. I encourage anybody to go out there and check these out because you can often find these two in particular. You can still find pretty cheap. Like I said, I bought this one used last week off of Guitar Center's website for 29 bucks. And this one I've had for a few years now, but I paid about the same price. Now you can still pick these up for about 50 or 60 bucks, give or take. Maybe a little less if you get lucky. So these two are still really, really affordable. So if you're looking for an affordable distortion or an affordable overdrive, especially if you liked what you heard in this video, you need to go track you down one of these. This one, again, as I mentioned, because of the whole JHS, Josh Scott viral thing, you know, and I do recommend you go check out that video because it was very, very enlightening, just you know, about just how versatile this pedal is. Though that wasn't necessarily the point of the video, but because of that, you know, that whole viral thing last year, again, these you can still find for about 100, 125 bucks. You know, for a solid overdrive, especially a discontinued one that's highly sought after. That's pretty good these days. I'll also post a few eBay links down in the description as well if you want to go check these out. And comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Or if you own any of these or what your favorite might be. Adios.